What is going on? Welcome to the Attractions Group podcast. David, you're usually dancing back there during the
No,
video.
no, actually, I'm not. I'm standing right now. I'm not sitting. Usually, I'm sitting and I have a pen. I flip it up in the air and try to catch it, or I'm
Well,
trying to direct music. This time I did
this
that,
week
but
okay. It looked like you were conducting for sure.
I was trying to conduct.
You kind of
You
looked
got me
like
there.
Mickey during Fantasia.
Well, let's not get carried away. So, Gleek, how are things going in Central Florida?
It's great. It's always
It's
great. I've
always great.
been
I like that.
just enjoyed. I was in Chicago this weekend. I play quiz bowl for Valencia College down here, and we were playing at the intercollegiate championship tournament in Chicago. So that was fun. It was nice to get out of the heat. I just I love the warm weather. It's nice. I don't dread it, because I can go to parks every day. I could
Hmm.
go outside and take a walk anytime I want to. It's really nice to not have to deal with the cold, but it is also really nice to get up, to the Windy City and be able to wear long sleeves and still be nice and brisk.
Yeah, nice and brisk. Now, being in Chicago the last weekend, did they get in on any of the weather activity that hit the Midwest?
Not really. So we had some sprinkles
Okay.
up in Chicago, but nothing like. Tell us a little. I heard some crazy numbers for Cincinnati.
It really was, and this is that time of the year. And now we got all the February through March area where you just didn't know if it's going to be 60 degrees one day or 20 the next.
Yeah.
And here we're in that. I'm not a weatherman. In that battleground area where the warm weather wants to come in, but the cold weather's not ready to get away yet. And when that happens, you get a lot of rain and a lot of storms. And last week I think we were chased into our basement two or three times, and it continued through the weekend. And we just got our rain gauge. We logged. I think since I don't remember. Were we talking about this last Tuesday when we recorded?
Maybe. Yeah.
Actually, no. I think the storm front had come in the weekend before, and this is before
Okay.
the new one came in. So no, in this last recent rain event we had over the span of 5 days, we got 6 inches of rain,
Whoa.
and it's yeah, 6 inches of rain, five severe thunderstorm warnings, and two tornado warnings.
So did you have to deal with
It's
any flooding where you are?
No, and now geographically speaking, if you're in the entrance of Kings Island, you look at the Eiffel Tower. Our house is beyond that, and we can see the fireworks from our driveway. We didn't buy the house because of that, but with the
Come
where
on.
we live
Come
at,
on.
no, we really didn't. We like going to the park, but not that much. Not to buy an entire house. Anyway, so our house lives up not on a hill, but we're pretty far away from anything that would look like any
Yeah.
floodwater. Not to say that there wasn't down, because behind our house there's a valley where what's called the Little Miami River goes, and then when you go back up, you go into Kings Mills, which of course is where Kings Island's at. But the Little Miami River did flood. It was one on the weather maps of Ohio. It's one of the places that flooded. And for what it's worth, true to form, the Ohio Protocol for parks in this area, I believe it's somewhere in the Constitution of the state of Ohio, that every 5 years, the property known as Coney Island in Cincinnati gets submerged underwater. And now, even though the park and the pool is no longer there, of course, there's pictures out about their underwater, their entrance where the Coney Island entrance sign is still there, but it, of course, went underwater. And I don't know if it's back out yet or not, but we've got quite a bit of rain here.
Wow. Coney Island. So I believe they're building like a concert venue in the area that used like another one because it's right next to Riverbend and the
Yes,
PNC Pavilion, but
right.
they're putting like another one in too. Is that right?
I believe so. It made a lot of news up here back when the transaction took place,
Yeah.
when there's a lot of people that didn't want to see the park demolished, and then the people that were wanting to see progress go through. There really hasn't been a lot of news here recently. I know the park, the water, I'm sorry, the pool's been removed, and any semblance of the park itself. Now, some of the old assets from Coney Island pre 1970 are still there. There's a couple buildings, and I think Moonlight Gardens is still there. I think there was talk as to whether or not they were going to be able to save it or rehab it, but at this moment, I believe those are still there. But Yeah, anything that resembled what the park looked like up until about 2 or 3 years ago is gone.
Yeah, it was so fun. It was a great place. I would, yeah, I
It
lived
was.
in like nearly downtown in Cincinnati, and it was, if I really wanted to, I think I could have taken a bike ride there, and I did one day back in the summer of 2022, and it was to the only time I ever went, and I'm so glad I did because I would have hated to have grown up in Cincinnati and have never have gone or never even had the chance to have gone to Coney Island. That would have been a real tragedy.
Yeah. Yeah, and not to get on the whatever topic that might be, but it is kind of surprised that a park with that much, literally that much history in the city of Cincinnati and in the Southwest Ohio region, that it's gone.
Yeah.
Every semblance of it is gone. And I think Sunlight Pool had been there for, you probably know more than I do. How long had it been there? Was it 100
I,
years?
I mean, nearly, yeah, forever,
Yeah,
forever, and
world's
they,
largest recycling pool,
yeah, so cool, and they did
recirculating pool.
an unbelievable Christmas lights drive through. Have you ever done that? And
Yes, we did.
is
We did that COVID year when
okay.
nothing else is open. You couldn't go in anywhere. You could drive around the parking lot.
Hey, yeah, why not? That is a beautiful show, and they sync up like you listen to this radio station, and it plays some music that goes with the lights.
Hmm.
Super, super cool. So, how far did this crazy rain spread? Where like Tennessee, Kentucky, were they dealing with this as well?
Yes, they did. And actually, in Kentucky, there's a lot more rain than we got here. But if you look at the weather map, literally, it followed the Mississippi River up to the Ohio River and up through I believe, Pittsburgh and into Pennsylvania. That's where the most of the rain fell. My family, we were at the Kentucky Horse Park a couple of weeks ago, and it's funny because we took one of their horse rides through the park, and it looked like the places where we were riding the horses at was underwater as well. So I believe that in the northern Kentucky, central Kentucky area, they got a lot more rain than we did, and they got their share of tornadoes down there also. But yeah, even so much talking about the weather is, yeah, you can always talk about the weather, but also it did have some lingering effects on parks as well.
Sure thing.
The parks that were trying to open didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure if Kings Island would have been in operational season at this point, they would have had to have, done some closing earlier, maybe closed down for a day this weekend if
Yeah.
you're talking about 6 inches of rain.
Yeah, and you feel bad for management in those situations because you have in your calendar that you're opening this weekend, yet April's kind of a minefield of weather. You don't really know what you're going to get. You can have 70 degrees one day. We're not immune to getting 80-degree temperatures, but then again, we had low 20s last night, and there have been certain days. Yeah,
Ooh,
that's Ohio. You don't like the weather? Just wait a few minutes.
yeah.
But no, I've been there. I've been around a couple of years where they've had to close. There's literally, or you drive past, they're open, but you can literally count as you're driving past the number of cars in the parking lot. So
Yeah.
it's, I know their management gets some grief sometimes that they're cutting their season. That it's not open in April anymore. Well, what are they really missing out on? A
Yeah.
couple 30-degree nights and no one wants to ride anything.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
Well, I will say, I love going to parks on rainy days, especially regional parks. If you're going to go to Universal on a day that it's raining, the fact is people save up for too long. They can't just afford to say, all right, well, we're not going to come today because it's raining. The trips are just a much bigger deal. But with Kings Island,
Hmm.
such a great proportion of the visitors on a given day are pass holders, and they're thinking, oh, it's raining, we'll go tomorrow, who cares, whatever.
Right.
And it's so great to take advantage of that and just hope for rain but no lightning, so everything can
Right.
remain open and you can ride Diamondback, and sure, you'll get hit with water pellets at about 80 miles an hour, but oh well. It's fun. It kind of adds
It's
to
all part
the,
of the
the ride
experience.
experience. Yeah, absolutely it is.
So now, if they're talking about severe weather, a lot of rain, and going to parks, do you have any story about a time that you went to a park and just the weather was so remarkably awful that it just resonates in your memory?
I think the one that really resonates in my memory is I was at Cedar Point, and I mean, it was poor. I mean, it was just like we were up there for 3 days, I think, I want to say. And the second day that we were there, it was definitely the second day. We definitely had a day before. Um, I mean, it was just like we got up in the morning. It was beautiful. I was so excited. Great day. It was hot. and then some clouds start rolling in, and I'm with my friend Alex Getch, and he checks his weather app, and he's like, "It's
Mhm.
Clayton, it's gonna rain a lot today, like we're a lot." And we were staying at the cabins on the peninsula there, and so we were like, okay, well maybe we'll go back to the cabins if it gets too intense, because
Mhm.
we have plenty of time. We've been here before, whatever.
Because sure, being in a structure in the middle of the woods, that's going to be really safe, right?
Yeah, of course, a. Tiny little shack.
Yeah,
Well, so we rode Magnum XL 200 though before, like it had started raining pretty
yeah.
decently, and we got in line for Magnum XL 200, and pretty much right as we got on the lift hill of Magnum XL 200, it started pouring. I mean, just brutally pouring, and Magnum is not what I would call a comfortable roller coaster. It is a great roller coaster, but it is, and the coupling of the insane airtime on those hills on the way back, and the just unbelievable pain of the heavy rain just sniping your face was unforgettable. And then we went back to the cabin, and we watched the documentary about Six Flags New Orleans closed for storm,
Mhm.
because Cedar Point was closed for storm, and so it was we were really feeling the mode on that one. What about you? You got any great memories of inclement weather?
Okay, well, really inclement weather that could really go in a lot of different directions. Just a couple small ones. Going to Kings Island, we went up to the top of the Eiffel Tower sometime this summer. I don't know and of course in the summer you can have sunny weather in 1 minute and then just a huge storm come through. And I don't remember what the weather's like leading up to it. I think there might have been some rain in the area, but I don't think it was that bad. So we go to the top of the Eiffel Tower, and you come out of the elevators, and I believe you come out and you walk around the corner, and then you can see to the west, maybe the west, I don't know, whatever way it is. But so you look around the west, and literally we got off the elevator, came around the corner, and I'm like, okay, get back in the elevator. Rain's coming. And so when you're up that high, you can literally see the rain come across the interstate, across the parking lot. And we didn't get in that first one on the way down, and we were stuck at the top of the Eiffel Tower in a torrential downpour.
Wow.
Yeah, and it seemed like an eternity. They probably sent another elevator up right after that, but it seemed like an eternity to get back down. And of course, we were drenched at that point. The only other
Yes.
one I can think of, and it revolves around rain, is, and I might have said this story before, but back during the COVID years, we figured when Disney reopened Magic Kingdom, we thought, okay, lines are going to be short. Let's go. So we did. We hopped on a flight, went down to Orlando, and of course we're only going to be there a couple days, so we take Frontier, which you cannot check bags, you cannot put the overhead compartment in, it has to fit under the seat, and so of course we're packing the absolute minimal in these little bags, so we don't have to pay whatever the amount was per bag at that time. And my wife even tells me, should we take the ponchos? I'm like, no, there's nothing on the forecast, nothing's coming that way. and, and of course she gives me the wife, okay, but if it rains, we're buying ponchos down there. Okay, whatever. There's nothing on the radar, there's nothing in the forecast. So we go down there, and this is September 2020, and we are in at the, yeah, I think now that I mention this, I think I did mention this on another podcast that we did, but oh well, I'll mention it again, it bears repeating. We're in at the Rainforest Cafe the night before, and I get an alert on my phone, and I take a look at it, and I ask my wife, "Do you want to shoot me now or later?" And she goes, "What?" And I said, "Well, according to this, there is a tropical depression forming off the coast of the Bahamas, headed this way tomorrow." So, of course, we go to the Magic Kingdom in the morning. Beautiful blue sky as we arrive there. 11 o'clock, the clouds start rolling in, like thick clouds. Clouds like we've gotten downpours in Ohio before, but not like this. By about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, buckets of rain are falling, and of
Oh,
course we bought our poncho, and the ponchos, four of them, for for the nice Disney prices, but we stayed
yeah, that's
dry.
right.
Good news of the story, but yeah, it I've never, and of course there wasn't anything torrential. I'm not sorry, not torrential, but not severe. There might have been some lightning, some thunder, but no tornadoes. It was definitely a tropical depression that hadn't matured yet into
Hmm.
tropical storm or hurricane status. But I do believe,
Yeah.
and I forget what the name of the hurricane was, but I think it went back off the coast and did actually form into a hurricane. But yeah,
Oh wow.
that's the we like torrential downpours when we get stuck in parks.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
So, have you ever done a cruise? Like how what I'm
yes.
wondering right
Oh,
now is how do cruise ships respond if there's like a crazy amount of severe weather? I've done one and it was blue skies and sunshine the whole time. So,
we went on a cruise 2 summers ago, and if you Google search, I'm sorry, on YouTube, you do uh, what's the name of the cruise line? Uh, it's escaping me. Anyway, it's Independence of the Seas. I can't remember what the
that would be
it's not
Royal. If it's
Carnival,
Independence of the Seas, it'd be
Royal
Royal
Caribbean. You're
Caribbean.
right,
Yes.
Independence of the Seas. If you Google search that in Storm, that was the ship that we were on that hit really bad weather the week before. That there's videos out there of the furniture on the deck going all over the place and flying through
Wow.
the air. But no, I from what I understand, if there's something that they know is coming, they'll park where they're at or sail around it. That's
Sure.
my understanding. I don't know for certain, but that's we've never been in any situation where there was a storm that of any consequence that we've been on. But yeah, the boat we were on got it taken to them the week before.
Yeah. Wow. And the craziest thing is they still have only one day, only turnaround day to clean all that up, to get it all nice and
Yes.
fresh for the incoming passengers cruises, man. Unbelievable
Hmm.
undertakings. Yeah.
So what do you think? Should we do a pick six or two?
Let's do it. Let's
All right.
do it. Pick six, number one, not especially related to theme parks, but we've got ourselves some NCAA national champions. Last night, the Florida
Yes.
Gators, they got it done. Wow. What a game. What a game this
It was
was.
a great finish.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
and the interesting thing is that I think early in the game, Florida and Houston tied it up at 21, and then Houston ran away. And it seemed like for the rest of the game, they were about anywhere between 5 and 8 points ahead the rest of the game. The rest of the way, and it really wasn't until the end that switched.
yeah, they couldn't pull away, but it wasn't like they were winning, for sure. I think I saw Florida was
Mhm.
only winning for like 45 seconds in the entire duration
It's
of the game. But,
that's got to be frustrating.
as long as you're winning in that last second, it doesn't even
Yeah, that's all that
doesn't even
matters.
matter.
But I believe the end was 63-65.
That's
Is that
right.
right?
And
It's in that neighborhood.
if you didn't see the actual last play, you've got to at some point try to find a YouTube clip and watch it. It was Houston ball. They're down two. One of their guards takes a look for a 3-pointer. Right when he jumps, he realizes he's not going to get this shot off without getting blocked.
Hmm.
And so he throws the ball onto the ground behind him as not to draw an up and down, and just hopes, maybe one of my teammates can grab it. And the chaos that ensued after that was just remarkable and an incredible way to end the national championship. Not to mention, the day before, we saw another national champion in UConn who absolutely demolished South Carolina. Did you watch any of that game?
I didn't, and honestly, last night I faded back and forth between. I saw the important parts of the game, but didn't see the whole parts of the game because being a Reds fan, they're playing on the West Coast,
Yeah.
so the Reds game and the national championship came at the same time. So and used to this is first world problems, and most people probably don't deal with this, but you used to be able to go to the channel clicker and you'd go to channel 5 and then one game was on, and then channel 12, the next game was on. You switch between the two. Now you got to you go to the menu on your TV, go to a different app, and pull this. It's like they take what used to be like a 1 step process and turn it into 10.
Yeah. Well,
So by the time you actually get back and forth, you've missed a lot.
I think that's a part of it. So if you Netflix hosted the NFL games that were on Christmas Day this year.
Hmm.
And the NBA historically has been the thing to watch on Christmas Day. it's the NBA has always owned Christmas, and I think genuinely the reason that they went for those Christmas Day games and put them on Netflix and not on whatever channel was paying them a lot was because they don't want people flipping back and forth to those NBA games. They want people glued to the commercials to every part of those NFL games. And it's definitely only the NFL that can get away with pulling a big power move like that. Nobody, even questions.
Yeah.
So there have been some other
All
NCAA
right.
national champions this week. In fact, I'll mention them quickly just because I love weird sports like this. A couple weeks ago, Wisconsin beat Ohio State in the women's ice hockey national championship. There's a good one to pull out. And then this past weekend, very relevant for you back in Cincinnati, Miami University of Ohio beat UC in the dodgeball national championships.
The dodgeball. Interesting.
And, I mean, very Cincinnati ending, though. Miami versus UC. That's pretty wild. Not to mention, the last one I know of is in Rock Hill, South Carolina. I'm just going to, I love weird sports. Disc golf national championships were this weekend. Frisbee golf. And that was won by the University of Cincinnati Bearcats. So there you go. You see all
there
that.
we go.
Yes.
You got to end it off on the right foot.
Sure do.
All right, pick six, number 2. Six Flags spending millions on renovation park makeover for their Magic Mountains water park, Hurricane Harbor, which will return on May 24th this year. And this is, I think, following a pretty big trend of a lot of parks are refurbishing a lot of just doing. I call it small ball to make a fresh experience for the following season. Now, granted, there's a lot of parks that have gone to new roller coasters, new big experiences. But there have been a lot that they've just decided to take in what they've already got and renew it. And Six Flags has done that with their water park at Magic Mountain. And it'll be interesting to see what all that looks like and how just different landscaping, trimming this back and putting change of exterior of this facility, what it makes a park look like.
Yeah, for sure. I've never been to any Six Flags water parks ever.
I have not been to Magic Mountain.
Okay. All right. There you go. So Magic Mountain is insanely hot. So it's good that they're doing some things to help you cool down and do so in a nice environment. Over on number 3, speaking of water parks, that's right. Yeah, Disney last week announced on April Fool's Day. So I thought it was a joke when I first read it. I'm not gonna lie. Both Typhoon Lagoon and Blizzard Beach are going to be open for the summer operating season. I believe it's May 9th, May 10th, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we're going to see Typhoon Lagoon open up and operate for the first time since before COVID at the same time as Blizzard Beach. They've been doing this like 6 months one, 6 months the others type thing,
right,
which has been giving them a great chance to keep everything refurbished and clean. But it's way worse for capacity. Since sometime in early February, they reinstated the resort arrival day water park free ticket benefit. So that is to say, if I'm checking in on Monday to one of the Disney resorts and my trip really starts Tuesday, I get to go to Typhoon Lagoon or to Blizzard Beach for free. In the past, it's been whatever one is open. But now you're going to get to choose which of those two parks you would like to do with that arrival day benefit. And I really do think the reason that they're doing this is just because the arrival day benefit has been so popular. It's just been crazy to try to mitigate the crowds they've been getting at Blizzard Beach since reinstating that policy.
That's good. And it's been a long time since they've been both open concurrently. I mean, by the time they reopen, or this summer hits, it'll be 5 years.
Yeah, which is
both water parks have been open.
That's crazy to even think about. 5 years. Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, I do wonder. I know that a lot of the way, and by the way, I work at Walt Disney World. I'm not speaking on behalf of the company in any way. I'm just talking as a big theme park fan.
But
I do wonder. Right, that's right. As far as employees go, what that'll look like for them, because they've been doing a lot of this. Same employees for both parks because they're not open at the same time. So they have, their water park crew and they go and, will work at one place and then they'll go and work at another. So I do I'm curious to see what it might look like when they, if they'll have to hire a bunch of new people, or you know
Hmm.
what'll go down for the staff requirements that'll be necessary to have Typhoon and Blizzard open at the same time. Have you actually been to these parks? I've worked at
I've
Blizzard
been
Beach,
to
but
Typhoon Lagoon.
okay, all right,
We were there a couple of years ago. I mean, when we were down there, the Blizzard Beach was unopened, obviously. So we went
yeah,
to Typhoon Lagoon, and it was a nice park. I mean, which not to knock any other parks, but some water parks you go to, and I've probably been maybe five different water parks in my lifetime. They don't have a lot of shade in them.
yeah,
It's basically an open area that they planted some trees and everything tends to be ground level. Typhoon Lagoon has a lot of shade in it, so it's
nice.
it's it's a really nice environment. You can have the sun if you want it, and you can be in the shade if you want. Which I really like being in the shade on some of the lines that you might stand in for in the Florida heat for a long time and completely dry off by the time you get on it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that is super nice.
Yeah. So we got pick six, number four. Kennywood, of course, is having its earliest opening in its 127-year-long history. We'll be opening this weekend on April 12th, and they're going to be greeted by their newest festival, which is an excellent celebration. Yes, it's excellent, not excellent. Celebration and its first ever themed festival. So it's interesting that there's some parks that are not trying to open as early in April, and then here's Kennywood coming out. This is their longest season in their history, just in time for a new park owner. But they are coming out and opening on April 12th.
Yeah,
So, and Kennywood's a great little park, and that's not so little. I'm sorry, that's not an accurate description, but it's a great park to go to. They have Steel Curtain coming back this year. Looking for and going to be managed by Herston sooner or later.
yeah,
Maybe if not this season, definitely next season.
for sure.
So I think it's going to be a great year for Kennywood, and hope to make it out there this summer.
Yes, me too. Oh my gosh, I would love to get a ride on Jackrabbit. Mostly, I know that's a crazy one to jump out, but it's the triple down. It's just unreal. It's so good.
Yep.
Six Flags Great America is also opening up this weekend, um, which is super epic. Six Flags Great America is Chicago, Gurnee, Illinois, of course. They are a park I would be a little nervous about opening this early, to be honest with you, with the wind off the
Hmm.
lake and, the very Midwestern, very northern Midwestern weather trends. But I'm glad they're doing it. I'm glad that they can, start providing that epic fun, good, clean fun to Milwaukee and to Chicago. And Gurnee is really a great place for that too. It's about halfway in between Milwaukee and Chicago, and it's a wonderful park. Max Force, Raging Bull. So great, so great, and Goliath, the first RMC. What do we owe to Six Flags
Hmm.
Great America for providing us the first RMC? Have you been up there before?
I have not.
It's a good one.
And actually, the only RMC that I've been on has been the it's the Steel Vengeance Cedar Point. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Steel Vengeance. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, that's the
yeah,
only, and it's an amazing experience.
yeah, for sure.
I honestly, now not to bounce this back to Kings Island, but I won because RMC wasn't necessarily a thing when it was. I think it was starting, but it wasn't a big thing when Son of Beast was taken down. I wonder if it was a little further along, what might have happened there.
Wow, could have
I
been
don't know that
literally the best roller
it,
coaster in the world. Literally could have been.
it would have been interesting.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
So pick six, number six. Now, Clay, I like it when different blogs, different articles, different news publications start out with definitely clickbait material. Now, this is Southern Living Magazine. Okay, now I'm not a subscriber. This is just what came up. It says Disney World announces a favorite attraction will be closing.
No.
Definitely clickbait. So you click that. Yeah, exactly. That's what everyone's reaction is. I got to click this. So you go in there, and of course, the first line underneath that is, but it won't be to infinity and beyond. Oh, okay. What's closing down temporarily? And the ride is going to be in the Tomorrowland area is Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin. So apparently it's going to get to one of the refurbishments that Disney's known for. They take a ride down, they update it, they smooth out the experience, and it'll be down for 6 months, 8 months, a year, whatever, and then it'll return. So, yep, it's it's closing, but not forever. I love those clickbait things where you think, oh, and Disney happens to be one of the popular targets of a lot of these. It says
Yes.
that
Well,
this
inside
attraction is
the
closing down.
magic.
Like, actually,
Inside the
when I
magic
saw
is
the
a great.
article, I
Yeah.
yes, I thought 100% that was going to be an Inside the Magic article, but no, Southern Living Magazine.
Yeah, I bet that. So Space Ranger Spin is a great ride. It's a shooting dark ride, themed to Buzz Lightyear, obviously.
Hmm.
It is you know, it could use it though. It kind of
Yeah.
feels like it's a little aged, and ironically, it's very easy to compare with the other shooting dark ride that's themed to Toy Story. They have two of them, and
Yeah.
compared to Toy Story Mania, especially, it does feel pretty out of date. So I'm excited to see what it comes back with, and just maybe it'll
Hmm.
be a little higher capacity, maybe it'll be a little more comfortable. We'll see, but I think they'll do a great job with whatever it is.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. They've got a pretty good hit rate
Yeah,
on
that's right.
things that they've refurbished. Now, a number of years ago, when we stayed on property, and this has probably been 12 years ago. I don't know. Our oldest, or I'm sorry, our youngest daughter is 16 now. I'm going to guess she was 4. I don't know, somewhere in that range. But we went to the Magic Kingdom, and they have what's called the Magic Extra Hours or Extended
Yeah,
Hours, whatever
yeah.
it's called. And so we go out there, and the park is open till 2. I have a picture hanging in my office of Main Street that looking back to the Cinderella's Tower, and you can see a clock off to the side that says 2:05. We're at the Magic Kingdom at 2:05 in the morning. But about 30 minutes before that, Mom and Dad, we're dragging. We would just as soon go back to the hotel room and just sleep it off. And I don't remember our oldest daughter how she was going at that point, but our youngest daughter is one who always fought sleep. She always stayed awake until no matter how late, whenever the movie was over, that's when she went to sleep. And I think we're trying to figure out, okay, the exit's that way. Do we want to go that way, or do you want to go to the Buzz Lightyear ride? And in her, 4-year-old ish, I couldn't be more awake voice, she says she's rootin' tootin' ready for shooting. Different movie, but that's how she wanted to go to the Buzz Lightyear ride. So guess where we went?
The Buzz
Buzz
Lightyear
Lightyear ride.
ride.
Buzz Lightyear ride.
That's so
So
awesome.
can't wait to see what that's going to look like when it's done. I'm a Tim Allen fan, so they got to keep Tim Allen's voice going in there
For
for,
sure.
for the refurbishments. So can't wait to see what it's going to look like.
All right.
All right, Clay. So this week we have a guest, which I'm kind of excited about because my wife and I went to Sandusky last summer in July as we went up for an IAPA event. I think it was IAPA meets up there up in Cedar Point. And during the day, we didn't have tickets for the park, so we just happened to go around Sandusky. And I got to tell you, if you've seen the movie Tommy Boy, they got it all wrong. I mean, really. First of all, there's no international flight from Sandusky to Cuyahoga Falls, which they have in the movie. That flight just doesn't exist. I don't even think there's an airport in Cuyahoga Falls. Even so, they're only like 30 minutes from each other, maybe longer. Don't fact check me. But there's a lot to do in Sandusky. And we were driving through downtown Sandusky, and first of all, came across a great coffee shop. I'm kind of it's Mr. Smith's Coffee. I think that's what it was. Maybe Bonnie can correct me here in a little bit. But great coffee shop downtown, and not too far, maybe around the block, is an old post office that had some decorations outside. And my wife and I walked up like, well, what's this? We walk in, and it's a merry-go-round museum. And we thought, well, maybe the size of the building. Thought, well, maybe we'll be here 15 minutes. I think we were there 3 hours. It is definitely a hidden gem in Sandusky, and I think a lot of people go up to Sandusky thinking they're just going to go to Cedar Point, maybe go to the islands up there, and forgetting that there's a lot to do in Sandusky. There's a Great Wolf Lodge, Kalahari, and just a number of other things that aren't related to the attractions industry. But this museum in particular, I thought about a year ago, thinking if we can get the curator of the museum on the podcast, and that's back when Ryan and Don were hosting the podcast. I thought we got to have him on because this is really a hidden gem. There's a lot of history there, and I couldn't be more excited to have one of their curators on today. We were going to have Curie Lewis on. He had a prior engagement they had to tend to, and so we have with us Bonnie Bame, who is also at the museum, and she's our guest today. So, Bonnie, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
I hope I pronounced everything correctly and it got everything. It gave you a proper introduction.
Yes, it sounded great.
Well, tell us a little bit about the museum. Tell us a little bit about the origin, maybe the history. How did there come to be a merry-go-round museum in Sandusky, Ohio?
So that is a common question. Everybody wants to know why Sandusky, Ohio. So in 1988, the post office actually issued their first set of Carousel commemorative postage stamps. And of the four animals on that set of stamps, only one of them happened to still be on a working carousel. And just happens to be located 4 miles up the road from where the museum is currently located at Cedar Point Amusement Park. So the post office thought it would be a great idea to hold their issue day ceremony out at the park. And their building, which is a round fronted building, they had just moved out of and built a new building. So their old building was empty. And a group of local towns business boosters thought it would be a great idea to rent the building out and bring in carousel animals to get the downtown area involved in the celebration. So they brought in about 40 carousel pieces, opened their doors for reception, hoping for 200 to 300 people to show up, and over 2,000 did. So we blame the United States Post Office in Cedar Point for our existence. So as a result of everybody coming in to check out those the postal stamps and the pieces on display, a group of the business boosters put together a nonprofit organization, and we were able to reconvert the old post office building and open the museum in July of 1990. So we were actually celebrating our 35th anniversary this year.
Wow. Congrats.
So
now, are there other? I guess everything's got a museum, and some are done very well. Yours is done very well. Are there other merry-go-round museums throughout the United States?
we are one of four merry-go-round or carousel specific museums, and then there are places with exhibits in them. So of the four, we cover all carvers, mainly American carvers, but we do have some international carvers as well. The C.W. Parker factory for most of their career was based out of Leavenworth, Kansas. So there's a museum in Leavenworth dedicated to C.W. Parker. The old Allen Herschel factory in North Tonawanda, New York, has been turned into a museum dedicated to him. And then, like us, there is a museum in Bristol, Connecticut that covers all carvers, and that is the Carousel Museum.
That's incredible. And when we were at the museum last year, I believe you have one of the as you're going around the inside of it, there's a little, I don't know what you call it, an outlet part of a room where there are people that come in and carve like they are carving at your location. And
Yeah, so we
I don't remember if there was someone there that day, but we definitely saw a work in process.
Yeah, so we have 3 pieces set up to see the transition processes of how carousels or pieces are carved in their wood in case one of my carvers are not there. We do have a carver that comes in and does nothing but carve brand new pieces for us. And then I have a group of volunteers that come in and restore pieces as well.
It's incredible.
So cool.
What do you do now? Obviously, the museum is dedicated to artifacts from the past. Now, when you have the carvers come in and they do a brand new one, are those sent to charity auctions? Are they included in the exhibits, or are they sold?
For the most part, they are put on display. Ed, that does most of my brand new carvings, he currently has 4 animals on our machine. We are slowly transitioning the historic carousel in the museum that you can ride from the historical pieces to newer pieces, just so that we can preserve the historical pieces a little longer. And they add a little extra flair with some of the new carvings on there. Our machine is not a pure original machine. Most of the carvers, or I should say that carousel owner operators, discovered if you sell it piece by piece instead of keeping a building or the pieces, the carousel as a whole, you got more money for it than if you sold the whole new or moved it to a new location. So during the height of carousel collecting, a lot of carousels got piecemealed out. So ours is a hodgepodge of all carvers, all kinds of different animals, not just horses, from all over the world, if not from all over the world. I do have a couple of international pieces on there. So Ed's pieces he typically carves smaller sizes, so they go on our machine. And then my restoration crew, those are usually privately owned pieces, so we might have them on display for a year or two before they go back to the collector.
So what are the challenges? What does it look like when you're trying to preserve one of these pieces?
So carousel animals, because you sit on them, you rub the paint off of them. So the maintenance guys in the park will go put another layer of paint on them. So it is not unheard of to have 20 to 30 layers of paint on a piece when it comes in. Which on one hand is great. It fills in all the original carvings and smooths them out, so it preserves the original carving. On the other hand, it hides a wealth of damage. So until we get all those layers of paint off and get down to the base wood, we never know what we're going to find. And unfortunately, wood is one of those things that the easiest way to fix it when the leg starts coming loose is to stick a nail in it at the park. But where wood and metal goes together, moisture builds up. So the nail rusts and the wood rots away. So then they could fill it in with some plaster. They could do all kinds of things to it. And so until you get all those paint level layers off, you don't know exactly what you're getting yourself into. And you also have to keep in mind that at least one of those is a lead-based paint layer. So there's added fun of that in there as well.
Wow. That's so sometimes it seems like a lot of parks, when they do the refurbishments of their carousels, they just put paint on top of paint on top of paint on top of paint.
Yes.
Kind of a dumb question, but when you've stripped some of the paint off of these carousel pieces, are you able to count how many layers have accumulated on there? What's the most you've seen?
We actually just got one in that is the top of what I've ever seen. It's probably 1.5 to 2 inches deep of carousel paint or paint jobs that are now being pulled off.
Really?
Now, part of that is they did use like a plaster to fix some of the damages, so that it's more of a plastic, so it's a thicker layer than paint. But yeah, as I said, until you start getting your hands into it, you never know what you're going to find.
Wow.
That is completely absurd. 1.5 to 2 inches. So you sent us a few pictures here, and I'd like to maybe pull them up, and perhaps, if you're willing, you could tell us a little bit about what we're seeing in some of these specific pieces. I love it.
Yeah, and Bonnie, we have a significant portion of our audience does just listen to the podcast. They download the podcast and aren't on YouTube. So if you can, be as descriptive of the pieces as possible.
Yeah,
certainly. This is a lion, and it came off of the old Walbridge Park carousel that last operated in Toledo, Ohio. It is in early park paint, so it just has a couple layers that have been touched up on it. So you'll see like an orange face on the side, down near the belly of and then a blue saddle on it. Those have been obviously more likely touched up than the rest of it. The rest of it will be fairly done, but you'll notice the musculature on it. This is more than a standard carving, so this is over 600 hours worth of work that was carved. Wow. I believe this is a Denzel piece. I don't remember that off the top of my head. He was one of our more famous carvers. But
now, you said this last operated in Toledo. Now, what year did it last operate?
I believe that park closed in the 1950s.
Okay.
Oh, goodness. And so how long has the museum had this piece in your possession?
We've had it for about 3 years. It actually was purchased by a private collector. And about 3 years ago, we had been told we would get them in his will. He wanted them to come to us. And about 3 years ago, he came in and he goes, you know what? I've changed my mind. You don't get it. You get it now. I want you to come get it now. I want to see it in its final place. So we got it a little early, which made us all really excited. He's a gorgeous piece. If you
It
look
is.
carefully, you can actually see that he's got the original leather stirrups. So the leather straps hanging down his side with metal stirrups on the end of them to sit on. And he was what we call a stander, so he would not have gone up and down on the carousel. He'd have just spun in circles.
Okay.
The level of detail in this is incredible, and to just look at this and think, it last had someone riding on a merry-go-round 75 years ago. Is my math correct? 70. That's
Yeah.
incredible, and the level of detail in this piece is just is amazing.
Absolutely remarkable. Let's go on to the next one. We got some more on here. I'm so excited to explore all of these.
This is a rare loof camel. It's from around the 1900s, 1910. Loof, for the most part, did very simple designs. So the fact that we have some angry moons um, on around the saddle area with the humps and the tassels hanging from it, those are cloth tassels, not wood carved tassels. And the detail in the hair and the knobs of the knees, and say plus the individual artistry of the paint job to accent the blanket around the saddle,
Yeah.
the bridle, and all the details there. That again, I would say a labor of love, a labor of passion. The time that both the carvers and the artists put into these pieces is phenomenal. But
So is it usually the same artist who's doing the carving of the piece and the painting, or is that a transition that happens in between those steps?
not typically. It's usually a transition between the steps. You have
Mm.
your, and even historically speaking, most carousel pieces are carved by a team of carvers, not just by one person. So typically, one person would carve the tail, one person would do the legs, one person would do the body, and your neck and your head are done by what's known as your head carver. So they were the ones that would come up with a design to say, here's what I want the piece to work for. And it was kind of more of an apprenticeship program through the shop. So you had somebody leading the group saying, let's get you up to speed and get another set of master carvers going. But here's what we can do. And say they would play with it. So like this one has the two half moons on it, which we refer to as secondary carvings. So even as you look at carousel pieces, there are all kinds of extra hidden objects on pieces to find.
Wow.
And if you look, the saddle has a gorgeous buckle on it.
Mm-hmm.
Loof had a carver that was known for his buckles. That he enjoyed putting buckles on pieces.
Wow. Okay, that's so specific. I love it.
And this you say was made back in 1910. Is that correct? Did I catch that?
Around then, yes.
Okay. Do they sign underneath somewhere that they established
Oh,
the artist and the date?
oh no. It's
Okay.
it's like a good masterpiece. You have to figure out the quirks of the carver
Oh
to
wow.
know which ones they did. Every now and again they would sign one. The museum currently has a Marcus Illians piece that was signed, and from my understanding, I believe Illians only signed 6 pieces during his entire career.
Okay.
That is super cool.
So I'm going to make a guess here, and I'm probably wrong, but judging by this particular piece, this was one that did not go up and down as well. Correct?
Correct. Again, he's got 4 legs on the
Ah.
floor, so again, as a standard and would have stood
All
still.
right. Cleat.
Very
No
nice. All right.
opposition on the genius switch.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, just
So,
pure genius. Right
yeah,
there.
so there are 3 stances, so to speak, that pieces can be found in. If they've got 3 to 4 legs on the ground, they're a stander. If their back legs are down and their front legs are up, they're a prancer. Again, they have feet that touch the floor, so they would stand still. And then you have your jumpers that don't have any legs on the floor, and they do just that. They jump as the carousel's in motion.
Love
And
it.
Bonnie just gave away my secret.
Oh, I'm sorry. You no longer can plow the kids over as they're trying to see if the pole's going to move.
Let's keep going. I got another couple more pictures up here. Tell us a little bit about this one.
So this is a Marcus Illians, and you notice all of his feet are off the ground, so he is a jumper. He was restored. He's got a gorgeous restoration job on him. He was restored by Barney Illians in the 1980s, and Barney is Marcus's son.
Wow.
This piece was originally carved about 1914, and then Barney restored it in the early 80s. And since Barney worked for his dad's factory for a time, he actually used the same techniques that would have originally been done on it when he restored it. And he did put his initials and the date on it when he restored it.
Okay.
Okay.
Took a little
In
credit. And as he
1914
should have,
for
this
this
is
one.
beautiful. Beautiful
Yes.
painting.
Did you say where this is operated?
That unfortunately I don't know.
Okay.
A lot of the collectors, a lot of the pieces don't necessarily have that history with them, that whoever collected it knew where it came from, but by the time the kids or the grandkids got it and actually brought it to the museum, a lot of times that information is lost. Now, one of the great things about carousel animals are no two are identical. So if you can find a photo with nobody sitting on the piece and know where the photo was taken, you can say, yes, this was on that carousel. But other than that, you're kind of limited to what paperwork is still with the piece when we get it.
So if a carousel, let's say a park, let's say, Cedar Point in the, early 1900s, they want to build a new carousel. Are they going to one carousel shop to get all of these pieces from one shop? Or is it more of I'm going to get 5 of these horses from over here and get some from over here? Like, if my question is really, is the same team usually making every single piece on a given carousel?
Typically, yes. So each factory, there are 3 styles of carousel animal carvings, for lack of better words. Which those styles were named in the 1970s. So you have your Coney Island style pieces, which got its name for Coney Island, New York, which is what this horse is, which are your flamboyant, eye-catching pieces. So you'll see a lot of gold leaf, silver leaf, gemstones, and tassels on them.
Yeah.
Not necessarily proportionally accurately carved animals. Then you have your Philadelphia style pieces, which are your realistic looking animals, and they got their name because most of the manufacturers were in the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area. They tend to be natural poses. You're more likely to see the veins in the faces and the muscle definitions on them. And then you also have your county fair style pieces, which are your traveling machines. So those are a little smaller in size with less detail on them, making them a little bit easier to transport and maintain.
Sure.
And then each style had 4 or 5, I'm going to say, main competitors that would produce each style. In fact, the Philadelphia style, the Philadelphia Toboggan Company, is really the only manufacturer of those that are still in business. They no longer make carousel horses. They have changed their names to the Philadelphia Toboggan Coasters Incorporated. And most people know who PTC is.
Of course.
In your crowd. Yes.
In our crowd.
So.
All right, well, let's see this last one here. Let's learn a little bit about this dog. I'm so excited.
Oh, wow.
This is a Loof Greyhound, and he's kind of fun. He's almost shoulder height on me, and I am 5'6". So,
Wow.
every now and again, I'll turn around and see him, and it's like you're almost looking eye to eye with him. Again, you'll notice he's got a buckle collar kind of high on his neck, another trademark of Loof. He's got his tassels, the muscles defined in his legs. Again, we have another standard here. The photo doesn't really show it, but the silvery areas are actually etched mirrors on him that, from my understanding, were custom made from him or for Loof. And then if you look, you can kind of see the clip that is sticking on the side just under the saddle for the actual leather stirrup to hang off of.
Wow. Now, did you give a date when this was created?
Again, it's going to be somewhere between 1915 and 1925.
Now, honestly, if our listeners are listening to this and you're doing on a podcast, you've got to get the YouTube video of this up so you can see these pieces, or better yet, go to the museum. That would be even better.
ask what I do, and I'm like, I can't explain it in words. It really doesn't do the pieces justice until you can
It
start seeing them side by side and look at them and realize the artistry and the carving, and then the artistry and the art that's painted on them, and all the different aspects that go into a carousel.
and you look at this piece right here and you think 1915. Are you serious? I mean, it could honestly be just a picture of a life real life dog.
Yeah,
And literally, what I can imagine a dog would look like if it was made of wood.
that's right.
So
So I
these
always
pieces
like to have
are
fun with the kids when they come in to see what their favorite animal is, to see if we have any in the museum. And you look at them and they're like, "Oh, a dog," and you're like, "Oh," and the parents just kind of go, "Seriously?" And I'm like, "I have two of those in the museum," and they look at you, and I'm like, they're like, "Okay, a pig. All right, there's three of those in the museum at the moment. All right, a
Mhm.
snake. I don't have that in an original, but I have that on a secondary carving on a piece. See if you can find it."
No
Wow.
thanks.
So,
Pass. Now,
About how
also
many pieces are there in the museum as a whole?
as a whole, I think we have around about 150 animals to look at right now. And plus our historic 1939 machine, Alan Herschel machine, holds 30 animals on it that you get to ride on while you're in the machine or at the
Incredible.
museum.
Incredible.
right, talk about that a little bit because you do have an operating merry-go-round in the middle of the rotunda there.
Yeah, so we have a 1939 traveling machine that is no longer traveling, but we do have 30 new animals to the machine. So 21 are primarily historic animals created primarily between 1900 and 1930. We have 9 animals that were carved at the museum. And since ours had no animals on it when we bought it, it's a hodgepodge of carvers, so we represent a little bit of everybody. Where most machines are usually typically all one carving factory, so ours has a little more variety and flair than most machines are used to showing off. All of my animals on the machine are jumpers. So, and then we have 2 chariots, and then I currently have 20 horses and 10 non-horses on there.
Wow.
Now, on the machine, also, was this part of the traveling piece or something that was installed later? Because you have one of the I'm going to mispronounce it, Wurlitzer. Is that?
The Wurlitzer band organs. Yes,
Oh,
we
so I
have a
got that right.
19. Yeah, we have a 1924 Wurlitzer band organ on our machine, so, or with our machine. So while you're riding, you do get the traditional paper roll band organ music
Hmm.
that goes with it, and it, I say, drowns out everything in the building. Even though we have turned the volume down on it, those machines are not quiet. As I like to say, they are made to be set up in the middle of a field and say, "Here I am, come find me."
Hmm.
So they are nice and loud and project beautifully. It's a we change the music on it once a month. So depending on what season you're on, you could have some seasonal music playing on it. But it's all traditional band organ music.
That's
So cool.
incredible. Bonnie, what if you go down through your exhibits? I remember we saw it there, and we probably my wife and I probably have a picture of it. But what is the oldest piece that you have at the museum?
Currently, we have the oldest piece is a Charles Dare carving, and he was completed sometime between 1860 and 1875.
Wow, this is incredible.
And then we have, I would say that outside of what my carvers have made on exhibit, we also, our newest piece is a 2011 wolf.
Wow.
So
So it go ahead.
there are still carvers carving, and you can find them, I would say, all over the country. The wolf came in from California. So there are individuals that can carve, and if you didn't know better, they could do reproductions of the historic piece, and you would never know the difference between
Really?
them.
Yeah, so is it a more is there the same level of artistry today, or is it like CNC machines are taking over this or
So a lot of it is they're trying to mass produce them, so the it's harder to find people willing to work on a piece. Your simple design for a say a simple design for a normal size horse, so to speak, is 400 to 600 hours worth of work.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
that does not include any of the glue drying time or paint drying time. And nothing's a solid block of wood. Everything is glued together before you can start drawing on it to figure out what design you want to put on it to start carving into it. Carousel animals are one of those few wood carvings that tool markings are a sign of poor craftsmanship, so they have to sand them smooth. So most people, when they see even a historic piece, don't realize it's wood. They think it's fiberglass or metal. There are some of those around the country still operating as well. But there's the National Carousel Association's website, and the National Carousel Association is working on preserving as many of the historic machines as they can and keeping them still in operation. Has a running census of the machines that we know to exist, primarily American carvers in the United States and Canada, and I think the list is currently just under 400 machines.
Wow.
Hmm.
Incredible.
Are there different programs that you do within the for people to do workshops? Are there other things that the people do there at the museum other than come for the exhibits?
We do have some fundraisers. You can rent out the museum as a party hall, so to speak. So we do all kinds of celebrations in. We have our fundraisers. So actually, just coming up here on April 12th, so Saturday, we have the Easter Bunny visit from 10 a.m. to noon. And then actually, starting last year, we actually have 2 museums in the building now. So starting December 4th of last year, we opened up the downtown Sandusky Cedar Point Historical Museum in the building as well.
Wow.
Which, by the way,
tell us a little bit more about that.
Their executive director is coming on the podcast in a couple weeks.
Oh, okay. Well, then maybe we're good.
But no. Go ahead and go ahead with that.
So, since the two are tied together, as I said, with the 1988 postage stamps, they have a fiberglass replica of the stamp in that museum. And then they are purely, I would say, the history of the park, how it got started, how it, and their curator, you said, coming on, David's passion for collecting and preserving pieces. And it started off as his collection, finding a new place to house it, and then it has expanded from there, and it is constantly changing. I think every time I go in there, we look at it and go, "Ooh, what's new?" And you're like, "Well, did you notice this one piece in this display as opposed to the 15 in that display?" So like every time you go in, it's something new to check out. So between their museum and our museum, that with the secondary carvings and stuff, you walk through and you notice different details on stuff every time you cycle through. There's quite a bit of stuff to take in, absorb, and just I don't want to say it's overwhelming, but it's almost overwhelming in the amount of history and knowledge and just uniqueness of the 2 museums. But they go together beautifully well.
So awesome. As we start to wrap things up here, I do want to know what got you into the Carousel Museum. How did your path take you to where you are now?
Pure fluke. I got laid off of work and went into a job fair, and they were hiring for a gift shop manager. And 10 years later, I'm still there. And I'm in the museum on the floor a lot. As I like to tell people, it is a fantastic job to watch people's faces light up every time we start that carousel. And I'm gonna say kids of all ages. One of our perks is because we are the history of the carousel, we got permission to run our machine at its original speed, where most have been slowed down through the years. So we go 3 times faster than a normal carousel. So
Really?
watching people's faces when it starts up. Yeah, most machines today go 2 to 3 miles per hour. We go 9. So to watch people's faces on that, which totally changes up a carousel ride. that it's totally different than you're used to, and you're like, oh, no wonder people like carousels. You know that it's like, but the memories that they brings back, the just I said the passion, the joy. As a lot of times I tell people, you know, I work in customer service basically, and it is extremely rare to have an unhappy person in there. You get the
What
occasional kid that's screaming because mom and dad said no more rides, but other than that,
what are some of the memorable reactions that you know of people that have come there?
I've had somebody tell me make the carousel go fast. You go okay, and you start
Oh.
it up, and they're like, "I was kidding," and you go. You get the kids that we've got etching stations that we've got raised plates that are on that you can do a sketch of, and the kids remember part of it, and the parents are like, no, the carousel horses, and the kids are like, no, the etching place, and you get down and it's all the same place. As I like to tell the curator, ooh, my quote of the week is, the other day I had a little girl sitting on a rabbit. It's a 60-pound weight limit rabbit, so obviously a fairly small child. And her dad looked at her and goes, "Oh, are you riding the bunny rabbit?" And she looks at him and she goes, "No, I'm riding the hare." That
Nice.
you get as I say, especially kids that have a death grip on somebody's shirt, the pole. They're almost like petrified and terrified as the machine is running. And as soon as it stops, they look at you, go, "Make it go again.
Yeah.
Let's go again. How fast can we go again? Let's go again." It, and then you get the people that get off the machine and go, "Oh, we have to go back and check out this section again. I totally missed an entire section. I know I spent 20 minutes to a half hour over there, but I missed so much."
Yeah,
Wow, that's so awesome.
literally, when my wife and I went there last summer, we honestly thought, the size of it's not a huge building. It's once you get in there, it's much bigger on the inside than it looks like from the outside. But we thought, well, maybe we'll be here for 15 minutes or so. We were there 3 hours. And honestly, we only talked about a handful of things in the podcast today, but there's so much in there. I think our social media picture that I put up was a picture we took last year that had a line of horses going down that had been carved, and that's just one wall, and it's almost a circular building. So there's probably 10 more that aren't represented, and all the exhibits in there. You could literally, if you read everything and just looked at everything intently, you could spend almost hours. You could spend hours in there.
Yeah.
And before you came on, Bonnie, we were talking about when people go, whether or not they're fans of the parks or different people that visit parks to listen to the podcast, they're going to Cedar Point, to Sandusky. They're going to Cedar Point. They might stay at the Breakers. They may stay at the Express Hotel or Holiday Inn up there, or go to Kalahari, Great Wolf, whatever they may be. They're going up there for the big attractions and what people think. And unless you get out of where you're going and get into the downtown area and go around Sandusky, in my age group, my generation, we watched Tommy Boy, which if you pay attention to Tommy Boy, there's nothing to do in Sandusky, which couldn't be
It's
further from the
actually
truth.
celebrating an anniversary this year.
Is
I'm trying to think
Callahan
it.
Auto Parts, are they celebrating with that?
Um, that does not actually exist.
No.
But there are if you go around, you can see the Callahan Auto Part T-shirts and stuff that are sold in some of the displays. They've been selling those for, I was gonna say, since the movie was released almost.
Yeah.
But yes,
Is there
in
cow
fact,
tipping up
the
there?
city has as I believe, activities planned this summer in commemoration of the anniversary of the movie, which, if I'm not mistaken, was actually about a month or so ago was released.
Okay.
Cool.
Now, what other things are there to do in downtown Sandusky? Because you're a big part of the downtown community. We were talking earlier. There's a coffee shop. Was I right? It's Mr. Smith's coffee
Yep,
shop.
Mr. Smith's Coffee Shop.
Okay.
The city does a beautiful job in landscaping. So there is floral work all summer long that is gorgeous. There is a working clock with the date and time on it every day. The architecture of the building, our community does a great job at preserving the architect and refurbishing the insides to whatever needs to be done. There are 25 local restaurants in the downtown area, as well as unique shops, uh, art galleries, the Maritime Museum, so the history of ice harvesting in
Mhm.
Sandusky, as well as the boats and the coal industry. Um, Sandusky was a major part on the Underground Railroad, so there's a lot of history revolving there because we are not far from islands in Canada. The boat access to the lake, the bay, the islands. There's just a wide variety, and then we've got the Jackson Street Pier, which has does
Mhm.
movies, live bands all summer long. There walking trails, bike trails.
And you forgot the creamery on the west side of town.
Oh,
Toffs,
and
is that
I forgot Toff's Dairy,
you
one of the
did?
oldest dairies in the state. On any given day, there are 56 different flavors of ice cream to choose from. And
Okay.
just I always tell people, keep in mind large portions. I
Yes,
happened to
large, but
be in there
like
last
big,
summer and I
gigantic.
wasn't fully paying attention, so I don't know what the guy in front of me ordered. But the person waiting on him looked at him and said, "You realize you just ordered a half gallon of ice cream, right?"
That's no joke,
So,
Cleve. The portions are huge.
What?
yes,
That's the best sentence you can hear. You realize you just ordered a half gallon. I would be like, yeah, of course. You know.
darn, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Bonnie, it has been great having you on. And honestly, for people who are listening, this is only a podcast. Definitely, make it a point to look at the YouTube video, because all this is really going to do is make you want to go visit the museum.
Yeah, I
It
want
is
to
a
go so bad right now. I
it is
just
one
want
of
to
those things
like
that,
go to Sandusky.
yeah, it's a great location. You may think you're going to spend a couple minutes in there, but you could be there a couple hours easily. But it's been great having you on. Is it? How can people? What's the address? How can they see us online? How can they reach the museum? What are the hours? Give us a whole
So
411.
we have a Facebook page, our website. The museum itself is located at 301 Jackson Street in Sandusky, which is the corner of US Route 6 in Washington, or Washington and Jackson Street. Uh, we are currently open 5 days a week. Starting Memorial Day, it'll be 6 days a week.
All right.
Always, um, always looking for fun. Always a place to go. And then
All right.
if you say between Facebook and our phones, when you call in 419-626-6111, we keep the hours up to date. So in the event something comes up, this time of year not so much, but during the winter, winter storms can hit, and we'll let you know whether we're open or not. The outside of the building gets decorated depending on the season and what's going on, so you never know what, even if you can't make it in during normal hours, the outside of the building is lit up and is a great photo op any time of the day.
Wow.
All right. Well, Bonnie, you mentioned there's a website, but you didn't give the address.
Oh,
Could you give that quickly?
yep, www.merrygoroundmuseum.org.
All right.
Love
I
it. And
think.
I'll make sure to put all these links in the description down below as well. So you won't have to remember this. You can just go down there and take a good look at it. And thanks again for being so
Yes.
generous with your time. I mean,
Absolutely.
I learned so much during this conversation. I'm so excited to tell everyone everything I know about carousels now.
Okay, well, hey, I think the Wi-Fi played a joke on her there at the end. Fortunately, it was right at the end, so she was done with the interview anyway. But we'll have to connect with her sometime offline just to make sure that she knows we didn't hang up on her.
Yeah,
But
right.
no, it was a great interview. Very honestly, I can't say enough good things about it. We just happened to come across it. I don't want to say accidentally, but it was definitely, we were looking for something to do during the day in Sandusky, and drive downtown. Happened to see it and thought, yeah, let's go. It might take 15 minutes. It was a great investment of time. And if
Sure.
you've never been, just all the historical pieces in there. It's just stunning to think that they were crafting these carousel horses back in the 1860s. That's crazy.
It really is
But
impossible to think about that. Yes.
yes, it is. But another great interview.
Sure thing. Sure it was. Well, thank you for watching the
Yes.
Attractions Group podcast this week. We had a great episode. I hope you agree. Make sure to hit the like and let us know which of the 4 carousel pieces we
Yes.
showed in the video you would choose if you were going to be riding on a carousel. David,
All right.
I'll see you here right back
Till
next
next week.
Wednesday morning.
All right.
Right here.
Awesome. Is she still off stage?
She is. Well, she's actually not even. I removed her from the stage and then she left.
Okay.